on the effects of globalization on inflation, that kind of thing.
Just if I could add, the US administration have sort of stated policies in terms of their trade policies. We're going to learn a lot. A lot's going to play out over time as they interact with other countries and as the actually implemented policies become clearer. And that's what we'll take into account with monetary policy. And we have the benefit that we meet every 6 weeks, and so we can update that view as the picture becomes clearer. In parallel, we'll also work with our financial stability hats on the different scenarios that could play out in more extreme cases, and work through from a system stability how they would impact us and how resilient our financial system is to those more severe scenarios that are less likely to play out, but ones that we need to be mindful of.
Yeah, and if we've talked about the expectation of quite the real potential for volatility through that period, and of course we're also very well positioned to help support markets and pricing and stability within markets from that perspective, as well as a consequence of the reserves we hold.
And please don't get me wrong, the point I was making is we haven't formally incorporated it into the set of projections in this MPS. We've obviously been talking and thinking about it a lot, but currently we're seeing it as a sort of medium-term risk to inflation volatility. And as Christian says, as those policies become clearer, it'll sort of get deeper into our explicit projections for what's happening globally.
And thank you for that answer. And if you can please help me to understand more around, you talked about the 6 weeks that you meet and discuss, etc. You have reserves plenty in place to help support. But when major policies in major countries like the US announce any policy on any country or on any sector, it has a direct and immediate impact on the sectors. And it will impact, for example, as soon as something is announced, you will see a change in our New Zealand in our foreign exchange rate with the US. So it has a very immediate direct impact on our sectors, particularly on the exports. So I'm trying to, and I also understand, look, the Reserve Bank can't be moving up and down with any policy at all times, but how do you balance that between looking out into the medium to longer term, but how market is reacting very, very quickly to external factors?
So there's a couple of things there. You're right, volatility can occur very quickly as a consequence of announcements. We have to look at it. Fuel prices is a great example, right? Oil moves up and down in response to certain policies and market conditions all of the time. What we have to do is stand back and go, how much of this is transitionary? And therefore we should look through, because our obligation is a medium term. We're taking a medium term position versus actually what do we see that may create a more permanent shift. And therefore we need to accommodate that in those forecasts. The currency is a small, with a floating currency, it's almost a buffer, and it responds and adapts and helps take shock out of the economy and smooth that over time. So we should expect our currency to move in response to those sorts of things. It's where it gets to, and to extreme levels, and cannot be justified from an economic perspective that we would start to get very concerned and perhaps look to do something about that. But as you will have seen over history, that is a very rare occasion that you would expect us to be able to do that. We do have the expectation it will move. Paul, do you just want to talk a little bit more about how we will think about, or how we bake in that longer term view?
Yeah. So like one of the many beauties of the flexible inflation targeting framework that we use here, markets know how we will react in time, and if something big moves offshore, and if it's negative for New Zealand, the currency will depreciate, and that may well be appropriate, and it doesn't require the central bank to do anything at that time. And as Karen's saying, if things sort of do get out of whack and get away from the economic fundamentals, then maybe there is an interest rate response required. But we can't foresee what President-elect Trump. He talks a lot, but what's going to actually be put into place? It would be remiss of us to be sort of reacting. We'd be boxing at shadows currently if we were to incorporate that. I don't even know what it means, lower interest rates or higher interest rates.
Could it not be said now that the softening of our dollar since Trump has been elected is reflecting that buffering that you mentioned before?
Yes, it is. So markets have taken in, the market view is that this has potential inflationary impacts in the US. US interest rates have strengthened off the back of that. We get the interest rate differential position between us and yes, the currency, that is being reflected in the currency.
Okay, thanks, Deb.
Thank you. I've just wanted to dig into some of the details.
Okay, I think we're off to another MP, but you definitely tell Nancy's using the smartphone. Have you muted yourself?
Yes, sorry, I did. I muted so that you don't hear sirens and shit.
Heck. So which apartment buildings managed to kick off the fire alarm?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Nah, thankfully, it's usually just the emergency services. But, looks like in the chat someone called her out for the laptop, which I thought was funny. I also laughed because someone also noticed her use the term buffer, and I'm just like, hey.
No, if someone wants to see Nancy loot a buffer t-shirt, why not go onto the BHU website
They
and
can't
order
now.
one and
They
send
missed
it to
it.
her?
They missed it. The shop closed on Friday.
Oh, bugger. Oh,
They're gonna have to
well.
wait till next month, or well, I'm assuming I don't know. I don't make the merch, so I'm not gonna make any claims.
No, well, I mean, we're in December now, so next month could be. Are they meant to be doing some big tour in January?
Well, I mean, no. Well, they're going to Waitangi in whenever Waitangi Day is. My brain's just gone blank. February, yeah, beginning of February, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dates, but nah.
It's all right.
I know
Paul
they would be
Barlow's on
busy.
a tour around New Zealand at some point as well.
Sorry, who?
Paul Barlow. Paul, the other one?
Oh, yes. I was like, for some reason, the last name Barlow made me think of fucking Coronation Street.
Hey, I could always mention Auntie Susie. She's also a Barlow. And she says all Kiwis who are Barlows are good people.
Okay, I didn't know that.